1-2. Swinging a drive toward right center. Back goes Robert. Back near the stands. That ball is gone. A game-winning home run for Chris Morel. Can you believe it? Listen to this crowd.
Welcome back to the Brotherly Cubs podcast. I am your little brother, Zach, and that is my big brother, John. We are your brothers who love everything Cubs baseball. If you enjoy Chicago, Illinois professional baseball, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and please join us every week as we dive into the stoic, always good, juggernaut offense that is the Chicago Cubs.
We like to start off each podcast with a playful question for all 106 of our subscribers. Before we get to the playful question, we'd like to shout out to all of you listening today, or wherever you may listen, or whenever you may listen to our podcast. Today, Zach, I ask you, what kind of Taylor Swift candle are the Cubs burning to ignite the offense and their recent success?
So I'm not sure who had this scoop, but one of the Cubs reporters mentioned that the council has been burning a Taylor Swift candle in the clubhouse, gifted by someone.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess it's a pumpkin spice candle. Since the pumpkin spice latte has been released, I think the Cubs are like something like 9-1 or 9-2 since that date. So I am attributing the pumpkin spice latte and the Swifties to the Cubs' success.
Nice. I was just gonna make one up because I don't even know what kind of candles that she has. I was gonna call it the you need to calm down candle, just to kind of tamper, or to, what do you call it? Taper expectations. Damper. There we go. Yeah. There's a lot of, the Cubs have had great success, over these last 12 games even.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's hopefully they keep it going. Like we've seen before, they'll score 10 runs, 14 runs, and then they'll score 1 or 2 runs the next game. But they've seemed to be kind of turning the tide as far as consistency goes. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you look at their schedule and what the Cubs have done, let's say even in the Tigers series this last month, 3 runs, 2 runs, and then 10 runs. Against the Marlins, 6 runs, 14 runs, and then 2. So I actually, the offensive outburst has kind of been insane. Even in that Pirates series, the amount of runs scored was just unimaginable. I would like that consistency to stay up, though, as in they win a series and then they get shut out, or they win the series, but one of the games they lose, they only score 1 or 2 runs. So I'm looking for the Cubs to never score less than, let's say, 2 or 3 runs. So I don't care about scoring 14, spare me the 8 runs in the 9th inning when the game is over, keep scoring 3 and 4 runs a game. If you're getting your butt kicked or something, you're not getting your butt kicked, but stay in every game, right? Make sure, make sure you don't, like you said, score, 7 runs, 10 runs, and 1 or 2. They need to consistently keep up the pace. And the thing that's kind of gone unnoticed is just even during this outburst, the home runs, they haven't hit as many home runs as you might think, right? So I'm looking for them to get a couple of those, even on games where they can't score. Can someone find a way to get a home run to lift the offense when they're in a lull? Not necessarily, they're scoring a lot of runs. That's great. But can they put 10 games in a row where they score at least 4 runs, right? That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, or more, like 5 or 6.
Right.
Especially when you're playing a team like the Phillies coming up with Dodgers, Yankees,
Right. Difficult stretch coming up.
Yeah, the Cubs are now sitting at 71-66, 3 games back of the Braves for the final wild card spot, that third wild card spot. They have won 9 of their last 10 and 6 in a row. They swept the Pirates and Nationals on the road. They won 2 of 3 from the Marlins. I think I had them sweeping them, and the Tigers as well. I think they should have swept the Tigers. They finished 18-8 in August. The offense has really started to click, as we've said, and really put up a significant amount of runs. They will need Jordan Wicks down the stretch to make the playoffs if they can. They had a great start from him yesterday. What are your thoughts on Jordan Wicks? I wish he could have went deeper. It seems like he never goes deep into a game except for maybe his debut. I can't remember how long his debut was, but I thought it was pretty long. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm remembering someone differently.
With Jordan Wicks, the biggest thing for me is, like you said, can he go deeper? Sure, he didn't have any walks. That's good. I want to see him strike out a few more batters next time.
Yeah. He didn't strike out anybody, right?
And strike anyone out. So, I mean, when you face a more difficult team like the Dodgers or Yankees, you do, when there's runners on base, you do need to strike out a handful of batters. So he had a lot of rehab outings, and I know they almost pushed him to another one on August 30th. He was scratched, and they moved things around, maybe in conjunction with Hendricks giving up like 10 runs to the Pirates. They decided, let's maybe take Hendricks out and move him around within the rotation and the bullpen. So I think Wicks will, replace. I mentioned this before, but replace one of either Assad or Hendricks in the rotation, which they've needed badly. I mean, he's been injured a lot this year, right? He's been
Yeah.
injured a lot, and at the end of the day, if it takes him sitting on 80, 85 pitches for a while to not get injured anymore this month. I mean, they can't afford many more injuries. And if we can get him back to what we saw at the beginning of the season, where he was striking batters out, that's a huge addition. The rotation has looked good, so I'm not pointing to him and saying he will stabilize the pitching on this team. Luckily, the bullpen, has stabilized. But for Wicks, just getting back healthy, can he finish strong, and can you kind of pencil him into the middle of the rotation next year, right?
Yeah, he's got to go deeper than I just looked it up. It was like 69 pitches.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I saw his pitch count, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, so he could probably go deeper, into the ball game here, maybe pitch another inning, and then they took him out for was
Yeah.
it Tyson Miller or somebody, and I was just like, what?
The thing
Man,
is, though, like you mentioned with the pitch count, I think he had never hit above 75 pitches on rehab. So I would have liked
okay,
to see him go 80, but I think they didn't want him to maybe pitch into trouble the following inning and hit his
and then
pitch
have to
count.
leave. Yeah,
Right. Maybe have Tyson Miller pitch into trouble, give the bullpen a clean inning. I think that's the idea. I think next outing he should be able to go 80 pitches. Otherwise, why do you bring him back if he
yeah,
can't get over 80 pitches? So yeah, I'll be looking for that next outing. See, can he hit between 80 and 85?
yeah. So taking kind of a deeper dive into these wins here in the stats, the crazy stats that they have going on here. 98 hits the Cubs have over their last 9 games. 80. Sorry, I think it's 8 games. This is for 80 runs. They had 43 extra base hits, 18 stolen bases, and 14 home runs. So you would think with all those runs, like you said, we'd have more home runs.
Right. That's
But
what's
it's
shocking to
just
me.
insane. Yeah, but it's okay. I mean, you don't want to live and die by the long ball,
Right.
and we don't have. That's just not who we are. We don't have sluggers in our lineup besides what maybe Suzuki. Bellinger certainly hasn't slugged. So
No, he forgot how to
PCA,
slug, I think, entirely.
yeah. PCA has been the best hitter in the NL. He has a 330 batting average, and I took that stat from Locked On Cubs. I was listening to them this morning. They are the first team to have one Japanese-born player with 3 extra base hits and one Japanese-born player to earn the win in the same game.
Wow.
First team ever. The catching core obviously, has been huge. Christian Bethancourt, his ability to nullify the running game. The Nationals, I was like, why are they running on? They're trying to steal a base. It seems like every time they get on base, they're first in the national or in the majors in stolen bases.
Yeah.
First, and I would assume by attempts too. So, that's they really tried to run on him quite a bit in that series. And Bethancourt, they tried to run on Bethancourt, and
Yeah, and they got thrown out at second on a would-be double that PCA made a good play too.
Amaya now has a 240 average, which I think that went down over the course of from yesterday. I think he was over 4 or over 3, something like that. But so in his last plate appearance just did not look great. I think people probably weren't looking at it that closely, but given how much runs we were up by and So I'm kind of holding back on Amaya, and I still think they need to go after a catcher in the offseason. I think it's great. He's had this. How long has it been? A month or so, or
Oh
is it
yeah,
2 months?
almost 2 months.
2 months.
Since about 4th of July.
So I mean, if he really keeps it up, maybe through September, maybe he does have something here. But you can kind of see when he does make those, just he swings at pitches. It's weird. He took a pitch like an inch off the plate on the outside, and then like another, like the next pitch he swung at, that was like 2 or 3 inches farther out of the zone, and you're like, what is he? It's just, I'm gonna hold back on like my enthusiasm for Miguel Amaya. So I'm glad that he's hitting the way he is. But let's see. I mean, I want a slightly bigger sample size. So, what about Isaac Paredes? How hot has he been lately? I mean, he's been not, I guess, scorching hot, but he's broken out of his funk offensively. He had a 2 RBI. Was it single or don't? I think it was a single yesterday, and I think it was tied at 1-1, and huge base hit. And he was the toast of the game there for Marquee, Benny's toast of the game. And they said, you can give it to anybody at that point when you're scoring, 14 runs.
Yeah.
But defensively, he's looked a lot better, a little bit more comfortable. Pat Hughes made the comment that he was going from, a small market team like the Rays to a bigger market team than, the Cubs.
Huge.
So, yeah, it's a big difference mentally. I mean, and they're really competing for a playoff spot now. So, it's a big swing mentally. So,
yeah.
And then finally, Jesse Rogers had noted over 9 games they have 89 runs. He corrected his tweet saying they had averaged over 10 runs, but
almost 10.
Almost 10 basically. It's like 9.9 runs per game. First team to score 14 runs. The Cubs are 14 runs 4 times within an 8-game span since the 1897 Boston Bean Eaters.
Huh. They've got nothing on the Cleveland Spiders.
Yeah, that's true. The Cleveland Spiders were quite the team.
1875.
Shout out to all my pre-Great Depression followers.
Everyone who's over 140 years old, shout out to you.
You're doing something right. I mean, you're choosing to listen to us, and you're living life in general. So let's take just a quick look at what we had projected for the Cubs. What I had projected for the Cubs, the Guardian series. I wanted them to, or I expected them to go 1-2. They ended up getting swept, so that really sucked. The Blue Jays, they went 2-1, so I was correct on that. The Tigers, I think I had them sweeping. If I'm not mistaken, they lost one of those games. And the Marlins, I think I had them also sweeping. They lost one of those games. And I think we're all cut up, right? Except for the National Series. I think that's basically the last series that we were in. And, and the Pirates too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and we wanted. I think we said they had to sweep some of those, right?
So then I missed one of those series then for the Pirates because I only had them playing like 3 games. So yeah, they swept. And so if they could go even 2-1, I mean, they're going to have to put together a few sweeps here, obviously, in order to pass the Braves.
Well,
looking at their strength of schedule, just real quick, I was going to say the Mets have the toughest schedule. They faced the Phillies 7 times. The Brewers, yeah, this is really tough for the Mets. If they make the playoffs out of this last, handful of games, it's going to be they really earned it. The Phillies, they play 7 times. Brewers, 3 games. Red Sox, they're going to play right now. Or if not today, tomorrow. I can't remember what it was. Blue Jays, which can be... So those are the tricky games for the Mets. Maybe the Blue Jays. It just kind of depends. They're kind of off and on. Atlanta doesn't really have that, unfortunately, they don't have that tough of a schedule. They have 4 versus the Dodgers. They have the Mets series, which is kind of, an okay series, but and then the Royals. And that's about it. So as far as like strength of schedule, I'd say Atlanta probably has the easiest schedule, then us, and then the Mets.
Yeah, which is a bummer because you're chasing the Braves. You got to beat both the Braves and the Mets. But right, I mean that's uh, you predicted that the Cubs might go, um, let's say 2-1 in the first Phillies Pirates series, and they swept, and then predicted to win this division, having to go 5-2 against the Nats, but they just went 3-0, so they have four left. So if they can, if they can win that series, they're up 2 games on your original projection, and your original projection uh, had us, I think it was 85 wins, and now I
85
think,
to 87, yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say now I think they need 87 to go 87
At
and
least, yeah.
75 instead of 8 games over. They might need to be 12 games over,
Yeah.
which would be like the Braves playing almost 500 baseball. So yeah,
Really, wow, just before we went on the air here, I was looking at the two opponents that we're going to be playing. The Braves and the Cubs are going to be playing, and that's the Dodgers. We both play the Dodgers, although we only play them for I think a 3-game set. And
mm,
then the Atlanta Braves play them 4 times. And then the Rockies too. We both play the Rockies. I think it's 3 games each. So
yeah,
Rockies aren't very, I don't. We should both probably go to. I think it's going to come down to the Dodgers series and possibly the Yankees series. So if we can come out with wins in both of those, I mean, series wins, I think we're in good shape. So that'll really, I think that'll define us because the Phillies, it might be difficult. Um, if we could just sneak one there, I'm anticipating at least 2 losses there. But
yeah.
the Yankees and Dodgers, those I feel like if we can somehow sneak, 2 wins out of each of those series, then we'll be in pretty good shape. So
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's going to come down. The Cubs have taken care of business for the most part. They've swept and they've won series against under 500 teams. Now the question is under pressure against, really good teams. The Dodgers are like 20 something, 27 games over 500. The Yankees had run into a bit of a rough stretch here and there. Still a good team. So, will they face like Garrett Cole and Luis Gil, these good, really good pitchers? Can they face someone like, I don't know, Nestor Cortez instead? On one of those games and not just get, let's say, can they miss Rodon, or can they really, at the end of the day, I thought about this, and the way that they played offensively against the Pirates, against Jones and Skeens, you can look at the overall number of runs in that series, but you can also look at scoring 3 runs off Skeens and scoring, I think, even 5 off Jones. And I'm not saying they need to do that again, but can they put up between 2 and 3 runs against Cole? I know Bueller's back and he hasn't pitched well, but let's say, can they continue that against Bueller? Will they face Glass now or Yamamoto? Very good pitchers in LA, probably even better than the Yankees and surely better than the Phillies. So
mhm.
that's going to be a big test offensively. Is can the offense, I wouldn't say keep it going, but can they continue to score between 2 and 4 runs against those starters? Don't get shut down. Because if you let's say, Yamamoto or Glasnow or someone shut you down 7 innings and you have to face the bullpen, down 1-3. The Cubs have made comebacks against, some of these teams later in the game. Obviously, we saw what they did against the Pirates that we haven't really discussed, going back down 3-10 against the Pirates in the 7th inning, one of the largest comebacks in Cubs franchise history. And
Yeah.
baseball's been around since the Cleveland Spiders and the Boston Bean Eaters.
Right.
So that was really impressive. And now that's a different team to come back against than, let's say, these really good, playoff contenders. So they obviously can't afford to try and make a comeback. Hendricks, they can't afford to have Hendricks pitch against the Phillies or Yankees or Dodgers. I shouldn't say they can't afford to have him pitch, but they'll have to be very selective, right? Javi Assad, same kind of thing. Some of these back end bullpen pitchers, some of these back end starters, can you get the bullpen in there a little earlier? Is there a way to manipulate some innings here and there, send a guy down? I'm looking at a guy like Keegan Thompson, who just came up very fresh. Can he, Ethan Roberts, Nate Pearson, these are guys that are sort of unsung heroes in the bullpen that they've been able to pitch the 6th and 7th inning or 5th and 6th inning in a short outing and bridge them to the somehow elite end, which is Smiley, Miller, Hodge, and Lopez, right? So what Council has done with basically scrap heaps is to me it's incredibly impressive.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you know, who were you mentioning? What was it? Alzolay, Merryweather, Lighter, these guys gone, I mean, well, Merryweather's out, right?
Yeah. So that brings me to my next point,
Yeah.
which is the injury and roster updates. So Merryweather is now injured again. Surprise, surprise, that he's injured when the Cubs needed him the most. He vanished. I think that's a line from Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is a terrific series on Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon, can you send me some really cool '90s candy or something?
Nice.
Uh,
Tootsie
but
Rolls.
there, can I get slimed, please, Nickelodeon?
Slimed.
We're not sponsored by Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
The Jordan Wicks game.
For Peacock.
We would just like to be.
Yeah.
We're begging.
Yeah.
So, the injuries have plagued the Cubs, and they've started to get a lot healthier. But like you mentioned, these guys are gone, and that includes Merryweather, who they could have really used. He did not come back with the same velocity, and now that he's injured, it's like, who are you going to depend on? Ultimately, that's guys like Keegan Thompson, maybe Palencia, Ethan Roberts. Merryweather, I'm guessing, will be out for the rest of the season. With the
Yeah.
15-day injured list, he would be due back, mid-September. He's going to have to get
Ramp up.
caught up, ramped up. Exactly.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're ramping up on the 16th or 17th of September with 12 games left or 12 days left.
Yeah.
Is it even worth it to bring him back unless he's looking really good, pumping gas in the bullpens, and someone is struggling, right? Maybe you can send down a struggling arm, right? You
I feel
never
like
know.
we've seen this story before, right? Was it Marcus Stroman?
Well, he's a
Where he was
starter.
injured, right? And then he
Yeah.
came. There's somebody is like, this is the same. It's like deja vu, man. Like same, we're in the
Oh,
same
yeah.
spot as we were last year, fighting for. Were we even fighting for a playoff spot? I can't even remember.
Well, we were up.
We
We
were.
were up in the playoffs, and we blew the lead. It wasn't a
Oh yeah,
massive lead, but 3 or 4 games.
yeah,
And now we're battling differences. Council is the manager, but yeah, I mean, and to your point there, we've got to, Council has got to manage the bullpen with regards to injuries. I'm just grateful that Jorge Lopez is not actually legitimately injured. He had a groin thing, and that, you know,
yeah.
that luckily was not a real injury that's had him out. But of course, Merryweather down with knee tendonitis. Hayden Wesneski is actually still. I forgot about this guy. I think they
I think
might.
everybody forgot about Hayden Wesneski.
Yeah, he was left behind. Island of misfit bullpen pitchers. I think he might end up on the 60-day injured list. He's only about. I think he'd be about a couple weeks away actually from the 60-day in terms of time spent on the 15-day injured list. So it might make sense to 60-day him, which would allow you to bring up a guy like Owen Casey,
Mhm.
who could have been a September call up, but there's not a ton of at bats right now because the offense has been so good. It's hard to sit PCA, right? You can't sit him.
Yeah,
So that might be an option when the Cubs do want to bring Casey on. He is Rule 5 eligible this offseason, which means by November they'd have to add him. Might as well add him a month or a couple months early, get him in the door and get him a little bit of experience down the stretch. Unfortunately, though, he might end up riding the bench.
right.
But
I was gonna say, do you maybe DH, Suzuki, or vice versa?
well, then yeah, you have to
D.
decide what to do with Bellinger. Essentially, it's Bellinger, Suzuki, and Casey. If Casey does come up fighting for right field and DH,
I
so I
forgot
mean,
about Bellinger. Yeah, I mean,
you could rotate those guys in and out, right?
yeah,
And depending on matchups, maybe sit Suzuki against a guy that he might not fare well against, and then against lefties, maybe you for sure sit Casey and then play Bellinger and Suzuki. Unfortunately, they did not add Owen Casey, right? This is just wishful thinking, unless someone like Mike Talkman or Patrick Wisdom go down, which certainly could happen. They brought up Miles Mastrobuoni as a bench infielder. Now they have 3 bench infielders: Vasquez, Wisdom, Mastro. And obviously Wicks made the start, and he was just a call up. He did not. No one had to be sent down for him as the roster was expanded by 2. So those are my updates. I'm pretty optimistic. That's another update. I was not optimistic last time we spoke. I guess I'll lean pessimistic just to keep my, you know,
Your feelings protected.
feelings protected a little bit. I don't. While I'm bought in that this is a better team than we originally thought. I'm happy about the progress of the team.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of things they'd have to do in the offseason. And ultimately, at the end
Right.
of the day, if you build an 85 win team, you're a few wins short of what should be 3, 4 wins short of what should be a good playoff team. I mean, you're not going to overplay your projection by 5 or 6 wins. I mean, that's a massive
Right.
swing, So,
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, I'm enjoying, I'm enjoying the ride, I guess. And it's kind of like I'm expecting the worst. You hope for the
right.
best, expect the worst type of thing, like people say. And, I don't see the Cubs making the playoffs just because, like I said, they have a really tough stretch. Having to overcome 3 games to the Braves. It'd be one thing if it was like the Mets or the Giants or something like that, where
Yeah.
you have a realistic shot, like if they're in the third wild card spot. But yeah, I mean, we've hopped so many teams over these last 2 months. So to be where we're at, I feel fortunate. But if anything, it's just to look at next year and what we need. Like I think we need a starting pitcher, like an ace, like a Roki Sasaki. We need a catcher, I think, like a legit starting catcher. And then a bullpen. I think they need a closer. Whether they need to go out and trade for one, you know, and trade some prospects to whoever the Guardians or
Yeah.
whoever is. I don't. I want to say Mason Miller, but it's like
I'm okay with, I do think a lefty, a veteran lefty, such as Will Smith, who somehow predicts the teams and he goes on, are going to win the World Series.
That's insane.
The Royals are not going to win the World Series, but
I doubt it. Yeah.
good for him in his late age to be continually successful. And
Yeah.
I think the Cubs should snatch him up. I've been
Yeah.
saying this for like 3 years in a row because he
Yeah.
has been really good on the teams. He's a lefty
Yeah.
with good stuff. And if the Cubs can just get another lefty in there to match up to
You're right.
pitch with Luke Little,
And get
that's
some,
kind of what they need.
get some better, be more fortunate when it comes to this injury stuff. We've had a
Right.
lot of injuries. So, I mean, you throw in, Ben Brown, you throw in Luke Little, like, maybe Alzolay, I think, is expected to miss 2025. But,
Yeah.
you throw in maybe Merryweather if he's, kind of got it figured out again. And, maybe your bullpen isn't so bad. I still think they need a legit closer, though.
Yeah. I mean,
So we'll
if they
see. I
can
mean,
add a lefty and a closer, just a couple arms, yeah, there is a lot of optimism. They've gotten a lot out of Porter Hodge. I mean, a lot.
yeah,
He's looked like a essentially closer in and of itself.
right. I
Jorge
think
Lopez a
yeah,
lot, Tyson Miller a lot. There's a lot to look forward to
right.
with what they have even now. Can you get a few of those guys, like you said, healthy plus a couple arms, and now you've got 8 legitimate. Ethan Roberts has looked good. 8, 9, 10 legitimate good pitchers,
Yeah.
which is definitely an improvement to where they were at the start of the season, I would say.
Yeah. I think next year, like legitimately, they really need to trade from the farm.
Yeah.
Whether it's a guy like, Johnny Long
Yeah.
or
Stock's going
maybe
up.
yeah, I mean, I think they really need to start, making some moves because, finishing, in 4th place, or 5th place in the wild card is not going to cut it, and missing the playoffs again,
Right.
it's just annoying. So just real quick, I wanted to make a note. Monday, it's today. Garrett Cole is pitching.
Well,
So
that means he'll probably pitch against us then.
game 3, yeah, he'll probably pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 3rd game. So and they're off. They got Garrett Cole, Rodon, however you say it, and Stroman.
Yeah, he'll
So
pitch.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we obviously won't see Stroman. I don't think we will.
No,
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, no
And then
Stroman. That's good. That's good.
And then let's see, Rodon would be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. May see Rodon on Sunday.
Okay.
So
Well-
yeah, we might get. Let's see. It kind of just depends on what they do with that off day. Like if they just continue, because theoretically we should face Will Warren and who else did they have? Nestor Cortez.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you face, and Cole, that's what I was saying, is that's a big break. That would give you a chance to win the series because they could beat Nestor Cortez and they could beat the other guy. They might not be able to beat Stroman, and certainly if Rodon has pitched well, Cole, Rodon, and Stroman, uh, or Luis Heel. I don't know
It's a
who's
lot
all
of
healthy.
O's, right? Cole,
Yeah.
Rodon, Stroman.
Right. If all those guys are healthy and you're playing them, back to back with the Jones and Skeens characters all in a week, I mean that's tough. It's
That's
still.
very tough. Like I said, if
And
they
the
can
Dodgers, their
and the
pitching is
Dodgers
even better
and the
than
Dodgers and
Yankees.
Shohei is on a tear right now. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody really, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. I mean, that's like I said, if they're somehow able to pull that off, I think they have a really good shot because the Braves having to play the Dodgers 4 times down the stretch is difficult. And so if they can kind of do better than the Braves did, in those within that series, I think the Cubs would deserve to make the playoffs at that point. So
Yeah.
but we'll see. So all right, well, that's all the time we have today. Thanks for joining us here on the Brotherly Cubs podcast. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, or join the conversation with us on Twitter at Brotherly Cubs or Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm your big brother John.
And I am your little brother Zach.
And we will see you next week as we recap the Yankee series. And who else do we have coming up? The Dodgers, Yankees, and Dodgers, and Pirates. So, all right, guys. Until next time, thanks for tuning in to the pod, and we will catch you later. Peace.
Listen to this crowd.